Alright everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to cover some Otherworld battle. Alright, never mind, show's over. Alright, I'm just kidding. Just the typical crashes from the game that you gotta watch out for. But luckily with Otherworld battle, you could restart your game right after you crash. Today, we're covering Jean Grey. Jean Grey is fun, she's balanced, and she's meta. And she counters all of the sub-meta pretty well. As you can see, I put her in all kinds of different places. I put her second, I put her third, I put her fifth. And I give her the remove purification buff. I give her the ignore damage buff. I can give her an attack boost like luck. And she can do well with all of those boosts, and she could do well with rage, and she could do well with conquest. So in this video, I spent the extra CTP slot to give her a mighty conquest and a mighty rage. So you're gonna see all of the tests that I went through to gather myself up all the way to the top of the leaderboards in this game mode for the second time. So I had a lot of fun using her. While I don't agree with the payment method of how to acquire her, I do have to say she makes the game very fun. She adds a lot of variety to the game, and I think she's easily a top 3 to 4 contender. I think she's miles better than Gore, who just came out. And I think because of all the support options that she has, I think she could also be potentially better than Null, and is somewhat of a sentry counter, and is a full Madeline Pryor counter. Could also interrupt and take down tunes like Logan, Strife, even Adam with Brilliant Conquest as well. But here, for example, we're taking on Gore's and Logan's and Adams as well, and she's doing exceptionally well, except when I was equipping her with Rage. When I was equipping her with Rage, she was doing good sometimes and bad other times because of the proc of Rage. Even though, if you don't want to invest in the second slot, technically you don't have to, because she is still very much hybrid. As you can see here, I'm trying many different selections with the buffs. And the thing is, you know, with this method here, using her as a starter tanker, right? Because she's adding damage with Conquest, but the damage is not as good as with burst damage. But she's a tanker with the Mighty Conquest. She's supposed to tank better with the Brilliant Conquest. So it's more better for you that you equip Brilliant Conquest if you want her to tank in this particular way, because otherwise, just like that, it's not going to work as well as you would want it to, because you guys got to remember that the stat difference between Mighty Conquest and Brilliant Conquest is very substantial. So you always have to keep in mind that with the Mighty Conquest, the tests may vary. So, for example, I'm going to be showing you guys many different scenarios in other game modes where Jean is taking on meta, you know, 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, and you're gonna see that while she does counter them all, she's not totally consistent with them because she has Mighty Conquest and she's forced to play on auto and not manual. So while she's great in the auto modes, you're going to have the most fun with her in the manual modes. And for me right now, this is the first time where I'm at the very tippy top of an auto mode like Otherworld battle, And for manual timeline battle, I have 5 teams that I can just interchange, and their ratio is not going to be crazy low anymore. It's actually going to be like a normal ratio, hopefully like 75-80%. And in Otherworld Battle this season, because I know all of my tactics, and I always show you guys my tactics all the time, I've managed to get myself into 4,500 Otherworld Battle. Like the very tippy top of Challenger. So my tactics that I showcased to you guys, they work. And they work pretty well. And I'll show you what I decided to do. So I changed my tactic here from the ignore damage buff as a starter buffer to having her have remove purification at the very, very end of the match. Because what that does, and I do it with Prior all the time, that's how I got the last time in Otherworld Battle in around 4470, where I use the remove purification buff on a character with large area of effect. So when I do this, she removes debuff removal in the entire area. So now we're going to be moving on to team battle. So with team battle, you get to see Jean's flaws. So the first flaw you're going to see is that her second skill is kind of like a charge up. The beginning of the skill is not as strong as the middle and the end of the skill. Completely interrupted Logan there, by the way. The super guard break is not as strong, but particularly against Madeline Pryor, it doesn't matter how slow her skills operate, because Jean has more resistance. She's going to tank Pryor a lot more than Pryor is going to tank her. So this is a full-fledged counter, I think, to Pryor. And Pryor is still separated in her own team. But here, again, I could also use Jean against Adams, even though sometimes it's not as consistent, because I really believe that Adams are crazy strong. And then this is just a tactic I use against Logan that works a lot of the time. Like once again, like I got a victory here over an Adam Ghost Rider, and with the extra resistance, Ghost Rider can't even touch me. As you saw, some of those tests were with Rage CTP as well. Jean being able to kill an Adam is pretty good, especially when she has a Mighty Conquest and an Adam has a Brilliant Conquest in top 300. So I'm having a ton of fun, and once again, you know, I'm showcasing some tactics here. This team is actually more of a Prior killer than a Jean killer, but they did get kind of close, so I do commend them for it. But of course, Jean counters them, especially because she's universal. As you see, I continue my fights with Madeline Pryor, but I'm interchanging between the two CTPs. So I did like the Rage for all content. I really did. But I think that she is built for Conquest because her damage overall on all of her skills is totally off the charts anyway. In addition, despite having heal on her skills, she actually lacks heal in her kit. The heal on her 5 isn't instantaneous, it's slow. She's taking down all different kinds of meta. And despite what a lot of people have been saying, Silver Surfer can counter Jean, and she can counter her, he can counter her in a couple of different ways. The reason why Surfer can counter her in TBA is because the second skill of Jean versus the third skill of Silver Surfer, sometimes Jean interrupts that third skill, and sometimes Surfer activates that third skill. So if he activates that third skill, Jean is obviously getting reflected, and she's getting reflected a lot. So there's two ways to go about this. One, is that you could give her the Brilliant Conquest, and you can give her a support like Chavez to negate Reflect a little bit, and it could probably kill Silver Surfer with the right supports. The second option is to obviously put Logan with her, because Logan does naturally kill Surfer and Carnage. It's just Surfer and Carnage have Agent Venom, so it's much harder. So what I've been doing, and what a lot of people have been catching on to doing, is number one, X Deaths, because X Deaths is for some reason just becoming better than the new Logan uniform. And you put Jean away from the center. So I like to have Jeff there in the center. And I even put Jeff with a drastic density enhancement ISO set, so he can tank even more as a tier 3. And as you can see there, they're taking down Silver Surfer, even with Jean in the middle. But here I was around top 300, so the results vary. So I was losing with Rage and with Conquest, so I changed up the team, and now that was probably my most consistent team right now. So the team that counters Jean Grey potentially is the one I'm rocking right now, which is Surfer and Carnage, who can also take down Stripes as well. So I would recommend not putting Jean up against double support Surfer teams if you have the Mighty Conquest. If you have the Brilliant Conquest, you could still attempt to try. And because Jean is cheap, I would probably suggest putting Jean with either Logan or Pryor in a team, just so that team gains more consistency for you. But as you can see, despite what Wales have been testing and saying, in TBA, you could still put Jean up against Silver Surfer. A trick that I do when I put Logan and Jean against Surfer and Carnage is that I take Jean away from the middle, but I also take Jean away from Carnage, because like I said before, the beginning of the second skill is like a charge up. So Carnage could actually potentially one-shot Jean with the Mighty Conquest, because her second skill is being too slow to charge up, even by like a second and a half. So just keep that in mind. And as you can see there, my energy builds of Carnage and Surfer still took down the Mighty Conquest Jean probably. So that's a serious tactic and counter tactic that you guys need to know. I directed Ghost Rider, I directed Emma Frost, can also counter Jean. So keep those in mind when you're taking down meta and sub-meta with Jean and putting her in a team that keeps her safe. Because as long as she's alive, she's going to win you the match. Alright, now I'm taking Jean into timeline battle, and that's where the real fun begins, because I was rocking her with both Rage and Conquest, and she was doing exceptionally well, because I get to treat her like the top 2 meta right now, which is Sentry and Kang. And right now, I'm arguing that she's a top 3 character, and all kinds of content creators are saying that she's the best character in PvP right now because of how good she is in timeline. And I do agree, Jean is exceptionally good in timeline, even despite her flaws, which she does have, which is why I do have to distinctly categorize her specifically, because, you know, I'm also showcasing her flaws. Like, look there, for example. Her second skill is very, very easy to avoid because it lacks super guard break. But because she has so much resistance, Jean is really tanking against Madeline Pryor, and has even shown to work with a CTP like Authority against Madeline Pryor. So Jean can also work with Authority as well. So that also indicates how meta she can be. And she has a lot of different support tags as well. Like, she could have Jubilee, she could have Jeff, she could have Nova, she could have Silver Samurai, she could have Coulson, she could have all kinds of different supports, which also makes her work with Mighty Conquest. So all of these reasons put her in a top 3 category. But her second skill and her heal is her biggest letdown. So when you fight her in timeline battle, because of the AI autoplay and how trash it is, you'll notice that fighting Jean Greys are not so hard. But guess what? I absolutely love that, because that adds balance. Look, like, that's how Silver Surfer could also counter Jean pretty well. And that's like, it's going back like retro style, like 2020. So that's pretty interesting to see. And I'm glad that I'm showcasing her flaws, because whales are just going to overglaze her. But I want to give her like an in-depth tactical review, because I want you guys to win with her and get like close to perfect scores with her and get like, you know, a 90% ratio with her, because she is capable of doing all those things. So let's talk about her second skill again, because right now I'm just facing like a top 20 in the leaderboard of her his Jean Grey. And the Jean Grey was pretty strong, but like I said, Jean Grey has a lot of issues with that second skill. So another problem with the second skill, and it could also be an asset to her, but I think it's mostly a problem for her, is that the second skill has a certain amount of rage. So the range, it's like, I guess like medium, so she could do it from a certain distance, but it could get her caught in damage, like residual damage from Sentry's 5 or Null's 5 or Gore's 4. So it's actually better to maneuver her manually. And as you can see, I can kill her with all different kinds of characters, like even Apocalypse, even like Ghost Rider, things like that. But she is still formidable. So she has a nice balance to her, and her rotation is not hard to follow either. It's very similar to Kang and Sentry. You know, you delay the 4, you do an iframe when the AI does an iframe, you do 2 again, you force cancel, and then you do another iframe. What's great about her is that Jean has a very easy debuff mastery rotation, and everyone's already caught on. She could be the best debuff master in the game. She does debuffs with every skill, I think. I believe she also has a substantial amount of decreased defenses on either her skills and or her tier 3 striker, and whoever she puts as her tier 3 striker. So her damage will end up going through the roof when you use her new tier 3 skill, which could be one of the best PvP tier 3 skills in the game. That's another thing that makes her kind of OP, is while you're using her, not necessarily how the AI uses her, but how you use her. She has immense burst damage even with the Conquest. So all of these factors together make her very, very meta, and you're gonna see that I'm having a lot of fun fighting her, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna have a lot of fun using her, even with double support. We never put double support of any meta, but because Jean Grey supports are so cool and so unorthodox, I was happy to use Silver Samurai and like Ancient One and like Nova and like Jeff. So you know, she's a very, very fun character, definitely meta, definitely like skill rotation friendly. Like her rotation is 2-5, 2-4, and then you could almost legitimately spam because she cancels her 5, she can cancel her insta cancel her 4, she can insta cancel her 2, her 3, she can insta cancel everything. She's great on manual, and you know, if you do decide to get her with her hefty price tag, you will not be disappointed. Not like with Gore. Now I can understand why they shafted Gore. They shafted Gore because they knew that Jean was going to be a much better character to sell. Gore has multiple missing iframes. 3 at the exchange of having Agent Venom's defense buff. Jean, on the other hand, has Silver Samurai's defense buff, which is very similar, and she carries everything necessary to be a top 3 character. So, and ignore iframe. Iframe, 3 full iframes, maybe 3.5. And she has full debuff mastery. She has decreased defenses. She has penetration. She has accumulation. She has some of the highest defense of the game. She has super guard break all over her skills. She has a fair amount of heal. And she has very high DPS. So all of that creates a top 3 meta compared to a top 4 or a top 5 meta who's missing a lot of those key stats. So Netmarble, please make characters more complete in a general aspect, like how you did with Kang and Sentry. Don't make characters only perfected if they're behind a paywall. So you shaft Gore and Apocalypse for no reason, but then you give Jean Grey the most amazing treatment that supposedly is rare. So it's just a shame that not all characters can get the same treatment as Jean Grey. And of course, you know, she costs around $25, $26, and you have to wait a week. So for competitive people like me, I can't really wait that long. So I was happy to get her and pay full price, and I am very happy with my investment. Thank God, because if I wasn't happy with my investment, that would have been a serious problem. And she's also doing well for me in PvE, which I'll showcase at the end of the video. And then here you're going to see me do a live fights with my Jean Grey double support. This is more of just how to tactically kill her with all of my tunes. So enjoy the video, the rest of it, where I have a lot of fun with my brand new character. Be sure to like and subscribe, and catch you guys in the next one.
You remember the fight in the jungle? We barely made it out alive. Don't stop, you dumbass! Not enough cash. Not enough cash. Not enough cash. It's a nice gun, stranger. Not enough cash. Hang on, sweetheart. Not enough cash. Hang on, sweetheart. Not enough cash. Hang on, sweetheart. It's a nice gun, stranger. Move out and draw fire, soldier!